If you are currently leveling up your Django skills with this tutorial is part of a free YouTube playlist. The link to the whole playlist is in the video description. Now, if you love this tutorial and playlist, then you might also like to check out the whole course, Django Database ORM Mastery on Udemy. The link to the course, which should provide the best price, can be found in the video description. If you want to follow along with the tutorials in this module, you'll need a copy of the code base. If you have been following along the course step by step, you can proceed to the next tutorial. There's no changes in the code base from the previous module. For those who need help getting the code base set up, this tutorial will guide you through the process. So first of all, check out the resources connected to this tutorial. You'll find a resource which will be the source code, the starting source code. So you're going to need to download that and just decompress. Now, if you're on Windows, you can right click and use extract here. Else, if you're on Mac, you can just double click. That should then create a new folder. Right, so let's open up the new folder here. We're using Visual Studio Code in this course. So go ahead, File, Open Folder. Select and open the folder, and you should be presented with the source code, which represents the code that we have developed up until this point in this course. If you're not familiar with this process, what we're going to need to do, first of all, is to install all the dependencies, all the requirements that are needed to actually run our project. And there's a nice list of them here in our requirements text. So we'll be able to utilize that to follow that process. And then in addition to that, we are going to need to work in a virtual environment. So we're going to initiate that. Now, there are setup guides at the start of this course for virtual environments for different operating systems. Here I'm using a Mac, so that might be slightly different to Windows. I will quickly take you through if you are using Windows, however. Right, so let's get into the terminal. So you can get into a terminal. I've used the shortcut here, Command, so Control on my Mac keyboard and the keyboard above, the title key. That brings up the terminal. Now you can just select the top ribbon. I know you can't see that, and select New Terminal. That will also open up the terminal. From there, I'm making the assumption you have Python installed. So we're going to use the M flag because we're going to install a copy of virtual environment, or create a virtual environment, sorry, in our project. Right, so run this command. Whether you're on Windows or Mac, it's going to be the same. So that's the virtual environment. Now, ready for us to initialize. So we're going to need to actually start our virtual environment. So on the Mac, I'm going to type in source and then venv bin activate. So I'm using tab there. Notice I typed in the first letter or first letters, then press tab to finish off the command. And that will then start the virtual environment. Now, if you're on a Mac, sorry, if you're on Windows, you're probably going to type in something like /venv /scripts / and then activate. If you're not too sure, have a look at the docs here in the commands in the virtual environment. I've left a guide here on how to start or activate virtual environments on Windows and Mac, so that just gives you the command there in actual fact. Don't forget that we are using a folder called venv and not my venv. You can call it whatever you like, but we're just creating a folder here called venv rather than my venv that's detailed there in the guides. Right, so we have the virtual environment active, and we can see it's active because over on the left hand side it says venv. So what we can now do is type in ls to view where we currently are in the terminal, and you'll notice that we have this requirements text. So we can now use pip install with the R flag to install all of the packages that are detailed in the requirements text. So that'll take a few seconds to load all of that up, but once that is done, we should be able to then move into the project. So cd and our project folder, which is the Django inventory folder. So we're going to change directory into there. So if I type ls, it's going to show you all the files inside of here because the terminal is now inside of this folder, if you like. That's where our project is. And from there, we can run Pytest. So notice that we've run 179 tests that we previously created, and that's all passed, indicating that everything is good to go there. And then if you like to, we can also run either Python 3, Pytest again, Python 3 manage.py run server. Let's just make sure the server runs okay. So it looks like the server is running fine. So it looks like everything has been set up correctly. So if you've got this far, you're now ready to start the rest of this module.